And welcome back, everybody, to the Rise Up Rooted Wellness Symposium. This is a 5-day global conversation with authors, speakers, coaches, teachers, and other visionaries who recognize and embrace the wisdom and wonder of the natural world in their lives and work. During this noisy and chaotic time in Earth's history, this event invites you to reawaken your own true nature, to find healing, hope, wisdom, and inspiration in the natural world, and then to apply these lessons as a path to well-being for ourselves and also for the planet. I'm your host for this event, Alex Strauss, and today I am excited to present Ruth Kent, coming to us all the way from Australia today. Ruth is the founder of Sunrise Well, which is a well-being platform that aims to educate, empower, and energize with coaching, classes, and workshops in mindful well-being and health education, both at work and at home. Ruth believes that each morning brings us a new chance to live fully on our own terms with the most joy, energy, love, and purpose possible. Ruth shows her clients that it is possible to live a better life by using real evidence-based well-being practices. Mindfulness, yoga, and health education are grounded in research and shared in fun and down-to-earth ways, giving her clients the chance to take a personal journey to a truly thriving life. Thank you for being with us today, Ruth, and welcome. It looks like a beautiful morning there in Australia as the sun goes down here in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're just waking up and it is. It's a really beautiful day, blue skies, really lovely day. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here.
I am so tickled that you are here, and we are going to dive right into the topic of your talk, which is Beware the Busyness Epidemic. And boy, oh boy, I have so been a victim of that epidemic, and I would venture to say that probably a lot of people listening today have been as well. So start maybe by telling us what you mean by an epidemic, a busyness epidemic. Why do you call it that? And what's your definition of what busyness is?
Well, I guess the reason why I'm saying busyness epidemic is obviously we're in a global pandemic, which is ongoing. But at the same time, you know, people are kind of trying to transition their lives in what's been going on. And a lot of people have been, like in the last year or 2 years, everything's kind of been thrown up in the air, you know, and there's sort of this chaotic sense in the world of people just trying to scramble and make ends meet, make things happen. We're just kind of trying to catch up with ourselves. At the same time, you know, the global sort of history, it keeps on going. So we've got things like technology, it just keeps on going, and we're going on Zoom all the time, you know, and there's so many benefits to that. You know, it's great to connect, it's great to be connected 24/7, but at the same time, we're finding it so hard to disconnect, you know, and we're finding it hard to slow down. And this, I think, has just gotten even worse during the pandemic, because we've had all of this like lockdowns, working from home. Even now, if people are, you know, countries are starting to open up, there's hybrid work situations that are, you know, that those conversations are on the table with workplaces. But at the same time, we're not really talking as much about how to transition from work to home, or how to, you know, make those transitions really clear for people. So we really need to sort of slow down and have a think about how can we not let the busyness take over? How can we sort of get a hold of things and make sure that we're not being run by the busyness instead of, being run by the busyness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Have you ever heard that quote, nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished? I love that idea that there's a lot we can learn about busyness from nature. But let me ask you,
so true.
Why do you think it is that people get stuck in this cycle of being busy all the time? It's almost like, I feel like it's almost like a badge of honor, especially among those of us who are running businesses or running families or whatever. If people ask you how you're doing, oh, it's a busy week, it's like,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
So how is it that we got to this point, and why do people get kind of stuck in this when we all know we'd rather be less busy, but
yeah.
stuck?
Yep, you got it. You nailed it. It is. It's a badge of honor for so many people. And it's not as though we're doing it on purpose. Part of it's just sort of we've fallen into this pattern or this habit that it just is who we are. You know, we've created this identity of being busy. But at the same time, I think some of it is our circumstances. Some of it we can't control. And I think we have to acknowledge that, you know, part of it is like I am a busy person. I have a business, I have work, I have a family, I'm on the go all the time. But I think that, you know, part of it is really that we are not slowing down. We are kind of using it as a badge of honor, kind of this identity for ourselves. And it's also part of who we are. Like we're perfectionists, you know, we kind of, a lot of people are this type A personality. It's like, it's not enough where I am. I need to get more and I need to get more. But also part of it I really think is mindfulness. We're not really slowing down. We're not stopping and saying, wait, hey, hang on a second. Do I really want to be doing this? Do I really have to make the most amazing costume for my children in book week? Or can it just be an okay costume? You know, does it have to be the best? Do I have to be up till 1 a.m. to do this? You know, why are we doing this to ourselves? So we kind of get stuck in this cycle. Like you said, identity is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you're recommending that just taking a little step back and looking at your picture may be enough to help you identify areas where you actually maybe could be a little less busy, but you know, you don't slow down enough to even think about the fact that you could slow down. I guess it's just a self-perpetuating cycle, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think part of it is just starts with becoming mindful, you know. So I think the first thing that if you were going to say to someone or say to yourself that you wanted to stop being so busy is to firstly acknowledge and say, actually, it's okay. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to stop. The world is not going to end. And I think we do have to acknowledge that first of all, because we kind of get this sense that if I don't keep going, then everything's going to fall apart, you know, and that's just not true. And the world will keep going. And once we realize that's okay and we can set things up, that's the first step. And also I think it's mindfulness, you know, so that we need to come into that sense of being more mindful with ourselves, being more mindful of our thought patterns and our body reactions, and just starting to pay attention to what's going on internally. And that kind of thing can already shift where we're going with it. So, you know, it can be just simple things like that really make a difference.
Mm-hmm. You know, we hear this term a lot. I talk about it, and other speakers on the summit are talking about the idea of mindfulness. But I just want to be clear about that, what that is, because sometimes people confuse it with, say, meditation, right? So there's mindful meditation. I teach mindful walking, but what is it to actually be mindful? What does that mean for you? What are you recommending for people that people do when you say be more mindful?
So let's say we're talking to someone who doesn't have a meditation practice. It doesn't mean that you can't be mindful. So they are two different things, right? Meditation practice, if you were to do that daily for a couple of minutes or 10 or 20 minutes a day, this is a great way to build that muscle. So I do recommend, if people wanted to be mindful, that they also do have a meditation practice, because it basically prepares you in a lot of ways to be mindful during the day. But you can still be mindful no matter what. And it's really just about becoming present in the moment that you're in. And basically it's becoming aware that there are thoughts. And the funny thing is that we have all these crazy thoughts all the time. A lot of people who sit down or who start stopping and becoming more mindful, they think, oh no, my mind is too busy for that. Well, actually, everybody's mind is busy, and we all have those voices that are going through our heads all the time. So becoming aware that they're there, and then just becoming more present within that moment that you're in. So becoming present within your body, noticing how it's feeling. And it's really, that's it. It's observation, it's noticing. And when you do that, you're able to sort of shift your attention away from those crazy thoughts that you're having, like whether you're projecting into the future or thinking about what happened yesterday or wondering what you're going to have for dinner. You become completely aware through your senses and through your physical space of where you are exactly. And that for me is what mindfulness is. And when you're able to drop into that moment, sometimes it's just brief. Sometimes you're only there for, a couple of seconds, and then you get distracted by a thought, or your child comes up and tugs you on the arm, or whatever it is. But for those brief moments, you're able to just be completely centered. And then you're listening to yourself. And there's a real sense of peace when you're in that moment. You're really at peace. You're really kind of present and calm. Yeah. So that's what mindfulness is to me.
That's how I feel when I'm out for a walk in my neighborhood, which is a wooded neighborhood. I have a lot of trees around. And yeah, that's that sort of peaceful, quiet space is what I drop into. Let's just talk about that for a minute. So how does nature play into this in your view? Is it something that can be of help to us? And is that something that you recommend or use with your clients? And how do we work with nature in this area of our lives?
Yeah, this is like, nature is huge, and I'm constantly recommending it to my clients because there are so many benefits, basically. But I mean, even if you just think about where you are, and you may be surrounded by nature, which is great, but you may be sitting in an office cubicle and you can still access nature. And I think that that's really important, is to, because it's not as though you have to plan a trip out to mountains, and it's all really an involved thing. But at the same time, you're able to find it just wherever you are. Nature is within us. Nature is our heartbeat. Nature is our breath. Nature is the air around you, and the sky. I mean, we can all look out of the window and see the sky. So we're not limited to nature. It's just a matter of, like I said, being mindful and realizing that it's there. And if we want to sort of access it, it's always available. So even, you're in the city, there are weeds coming up out of the footpath. That's what we call the sidewalk, the footpath. And there's air, there's plants, and you can set up your office like you've got a beautiful couple of plants behind you, and even those small things make a huge difference. Actually, research is showing that even images of nature can impact your well-being. So, but if, the ultimate, I guess, would be to get out and go for a walk and be able to breathe in the fresh air. And when we're doing that, if we're doing it mindfully, because you could take a walk and not be mindful, and then you've just kind of processed some problems, or you've had to think in your head about how you're going to have this conversation with someone when you get back, and that's great. You can do that too. But if you're not being mindful, then you're really not going to be there and present in the nature. You're not going to get so many of those benefits. And there are so many benefits that, as you probably have spoken about, there's, decrease in blood pressure, there's improvement in depression, or like reduction of depression. There's actually now a lot of researchers are measuring awe, or they're trying to understand more about this concept of awe, which is, awe like AWE. When you go out into like a really old forest, and there's these huge trees, and they're hundreds of years old. And in Australia, we've got some, and the trunks are so wide and it's so tall. And you're standing there looking at it, and you're just in awe. You're like, it's just, you're full, and your heart, your body is just filled with this wonder. And having that sense of awe for something so huge, it happens to most people, but finding that sense of awe in even the smallest things is going to bring us great benefits. And yeah, researchers are finding that there are some really great psychological benefits to awe. So yeah, it's just incredible. Nature is amazing. And then we also get that sense in terms of the mindfulness to be able to think about the cycle of life, the nature of the seasons that we're in, and the nature of life and death, and permanence and impermanence. So it's just huge that we can, look at a gorgeous leaf that's on a tree. It's growing, and then it's green, and then it changes color, and it falls, and it decomposes. And just being able to stop in and witness that can give us, again, that great sense of calm and presence and awareness that everything has a cycle. Everything has a start and a finish. And we are part of that. We are all part of that. And so that gives us this sense of a greater sense of who we are and what are we doing here. And that can really be very grounding, I think, for many people.
I think the fact that we have moved so far away, just as a culture, from this cyclical thing that you're talking about, it seems so disruptive when things change. And yet kind of the nature of life and the nature of nature is change, right? Our bodies are constantly changing, the seasons are changing, the earth is turning. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful analogy and an important thing to, as you're part of this summit, bringing yourself back to that idea that we are talking about not just leaves and forests and trees, but we're talking about all of nature, including the seasonality, right? Including the cyclical nature of the earth and even of our bodies. And I loved how you said, Ruth, that we are nature, right? So if you don't have a forest right outside your window, you have your heartbeat, right? You have your breath to follow in and out. And so you're deeply connected to nature, at our core. That's really beautiful. Well, so let's bring it back to how this idea of being mindful, whether you're outside or you're in your office or wherever you are, relates to being or feeling busy.
So the idea of being mindful and how it relates to being busy?
How it can help. Exactly. Yes. Let's just bring this down so that folks really understand, what that connection is.
Yeah, well, it's like in the same way as you head out in nature and you have a choice to either sort of get stuck in the conversations in your head or appreciate and be present with where you are. It's exactly the same with the busyness. So you can keep going, you've got this cycle and you've scheduling yourself up and you're sort of trying to fit people in. And when you're not doing that, you're on your phone checking notifications. And that's the cycle that you're doing. You can be more present. And when we start to stop and be more present and just bring that mindfulness into it, we can start to question how much of this we want to participate in and, how we're feeling when we're doing it. And starting to tune into that can help us to basically align ourselves more with our values, align ourselves more with who we really are. And it comes back to that sense of identity, who am I? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? What are my values? And what do I want to show my children? What do I want them to see as I grow up if we have kids? Or what do I want to be as an example to my workmates or if I have people working with me? So, just becoming aware of that. And again, like I said, tapping into your values, you start to think to yourself, can I sustain this? Do I want to be doing this into the future? Is this how my life, as we start to be aware of that cyclical nature of life, and you think to yourself, is this how I want to live? Is this actually like when I get to the end of my days, whenever that is, and we are aware of that impermanence, when we get to that point, do I want to look back and think, oh, good, I was up till midnight doing all these busy things? Or do I actually want to have appreciated my time with my loved ones? Do I want to remember those memories? So yeah, that's where it comes in. It comes back down to becoming mindful. And like I said, we're tuning into the breath, we're tuning into the body, but we're becoming aware, what are those thoughts? What's driving me to do this? What's the imperative in me that's making me make those decisions? Where are the voices coming from? And, mindfulness takes time. It takes, even becoming aware of your thoughts to start with is sort of the big thing. You're like, wow, I have thoughts, and just becoming aware of them, becoming aware that you have a body, because we spend so much of our time just going. But then when we start tuning into that and paying attention, you might start to notice like, oh, actually, I'm getting some tightness here in my shoulders. Or, someone just calls me and asks me to join another meeting. I've just about to shut down my computer and now they want me to be part of this. Is it really necessary? You start to get that feeling in your stomach. I have to do this. You get that voice. I have to do this. I have to join this meeting. So becoming aware, you can question like, do I have to? Do I really need to do this? Can this wait? Can I reschedule that? And our bodies are obviously going to benefit from that because we're going to be reducing our stress and we're going to be paying attention. We're going to be probably reducing as well digestive issues that come up when we're in that fight flight, like I have to kind of response. But also, you know, it's our minds and the calmness that we can come back out and talk to people with. So if you're at work and you get that phone call and you make a decision not to join that meeting and you step away because you've followed or you've started to pay attention to those voices in your head, you can join other people, you know, your family or your friends, with a different outlook. Instead of that busyness, I'm under the pump all the time outlook, is that I've just turned somebody down and I'm feeling good. I'm ready to start the weekend with you kind of feeling. So it's just so many benefits to it. And there's so much to unpack with it. But I think really, like I said, it's just about paying attention and starting to notice, where does this feel? Where does this sit in me? And what do I want to go from here? Where do I want to go with this?
And it's almost like when we start to pay attention like that, it ripples out to the rest of our lives.
Absolutely.
It ripples out to our loved ones, as you mentioned. We're more present with our family and our pets and our friends, but also more we when we're in that calmer space, we're more able to like be creative and problem solve and enjoy, have a deeper enjoyment of our whatever experience we're having. And it just sort of like it's more than just what happens in that moment, that feeling of, whew, I'm not going to do that meeting and I feel good about it, you know, but it's sort of like everything that comes out from that decision as well.
Yeah, and it's self-care, isn't it? I mean, it's about understanding that you only have a certain amount of charge in your batteries. So if you are, you know, drawing down the charge all day and you're pushing, by the time you get to the end of the day, like, how do you want to be feeling? Do you want to go to bed, just flop onto the bed, just completely exhausted? Or do you want to have some time to maybe read a book or schedule in some better sleep, or do a meditation, or spend some time with your friends or loved ones? And, you know, just knowing that you've got that charge in your batteries. So you're not doing it drawing from a place that you don't have that energy. And coming back to nature, you know, nature just recharges you so well. It's even 5-10 minutes, even an hour, 2 hours, it makes such a huge difference to the charge in your batteries. So paying attention.
It's so
yeah.
I talk about it's almost like the difference between running on battery power and plugging back into the mains. You know, it's like,
right,
my battery is depleted and I go outside even for a few minutes, and I'm all about 5-10 minutes, you know, just like that. But it's like plug back in, you just like charge back up a little bit, and then you're you know, good to go for a while longer as well. What do you personally do? I'm just curious to know, do you have a practice? You mentioned yoga. Do you do yoga? Do you do meditation? Like what is your personal practice?
So firstly, I think what I try to do is take the type A out of it, because prior to children, I was super fit, super busy, you know, just doing all these wonderful things for my health and well-being, and I had so much time on my hands. Then I have a 4-year-old, 4.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and at some point in that time, I realized I don't have to be it all and I don't have to do it all. So I just took that back a little bit and thought to myself, look, I'm not going to get a 30-minute meditation session in like for a long time, probably, or very, very rarely. And so, you know, am I okay with 5 or 10 minutes? So I changed my limits and made them more adjusted to my current lifestyle, understanding that I will be changing that in the future. So I do always do a short practice, and I accept myself for myself that will not be always as long as I would love it to be. But even just a couple of minutes that I'm getting, it will make a huge difference. So I have always a mindfulness meditation practice. I do some breathing, I do some yoga practice, and try to just make that fit in my early mornings, because I know that sets me up for the rest of the day. And then I drop into mindfulness during the day. And there's a bunch of practices I do, you know, I make sure that they just fit in here and there throughout the day, because I've got a busy schedule and I have kids to look after. So, you know, I drop into a little bit of nature. I make sure that when I step outside, I take a moment to breathe in the fresh air and look around me and, maybe touch a leaf, just get that physical contact and be able to just acknowledge where I am. Every morning when I wake up and I remind myself to say thank you, to say, here I am, thank you for waking up, thank you for being here and just having this gorgeous day to be with my friends and family. So little practices for me is what makes a difference. And yeah, it's really coming back to my values, and being able to just remember how I'm demonstrating myself to my children and what kind of person I am. Do I want to get to the point of the day with my husband where I'm absolutely exhausted and I just snap at him? Or do I want to just spend a little bit of time on that self-care and fill up my batteries, like we talked about, and just be able to come to him with a more even temperament? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wish that I had come to this space earlier in my life when my kids were 1 and 4. I think I would have had a much better experience of motherhood. They probably would have had a calmer, happier mother. It's lovely that you are demonstrating this for your kids, and I know that it makes you a better mom as well and a better example, as children grow up and watch you. Okay, well, before we wrap up here, tell us, what are 5 ways that people can manage the busyness in their lives? You had 5 recommendations for us.
I would say, first of all, boundaries. That's a hard lesson. And I think, as a mother, that's something that you really have to think about and put in place. I think as mums or as parents, we tend to want to be yes, yes, yes all the time. So I think boundaries, and it's the same thing at work. If you're that kind of personality that you want to really strive to do well and you keep on working well into the evening, or you're answering emails when you shouldn't be answering emails, all of that kind of thing, we really have to sort out our boundaries and find out, where are my limits? Thinking to yourself, like, about that energetic sense of, what do I need to give? What should I be giving? And what could I keep to myself so that I have energy for later? And that ties into your values, so getting a sense of your values is another one that I think is just so, so important. When you acknowledge your values and you start to really understand what they are, and that can be maybe just sitting down and doing some journaling, doing a little bit of a talk, or you can get online and have a look at a list of values. There's loads of lists of values, and start to think to yourself, what are my values? What kind of life, what kind of legacy, what kind of end of my time do I want to look back and reflect on and think about, the life that I've lived? And like I said, comes back to that permanence, impermanence, is to think about, what are my values? Is it health? Is it family? Is it money? Is it time? We all have different values, and there is no right or wrong. But once you start to work out what your top 3 to 5 values are, it can help you to make your decisions. So then you can get your boundaries very clear. You can say to yourself, look, going back to that example of the person who gets the email just as they're shutting down the computer or the meeting invitation, they can say, actually, no, I have very high values to spend time with my children while they're young. I'm going to shut this down. I'll get back to them later. I'm going to go over here with them, instead of like, get that fight or flight response going and I have to go and do this because my boss really wants me to. No, we can actually step away. It's okay. The world is not going to fall apart. So the values, and I think this is a really, it deserves its own point, is saying no. So being comfortable with saying no and practicing self-care as your priority, and saying like, no, actually my health, my well-being, it is a priority. And I'm okay with saying no. And again, I grew up as a yes person. I grew up being told that I have to, do whatever basically anybody says, and say thank you, say please, all of those kinds of things. It took me a lot to learn how to say no and to be comfortable with it, to be comfortable with having that voice. And I still struggle sometimes, depending on the scenario, but I'm doing it, I'm practicing it, and I want to share that with other people to say that it's okay to say no. And again, the world's not going to fall apart. And finally, oh, sorry, mindfulness. Mindfulness would be number 4, like I've mentioned before. So being mindful, first of all, just noticing it. You might not be able to change things yet. You might not be able to, you might just be in the busy cycle and not be able to get yourself out of it just yet, or not even really know where to begin. But you start noticing and you start to pay attention to the feeling in your body, that reaction that you get when you get that call, or, you know, whether you're doing things just as you're going to sleep and you start checking your social media, or the thoughts in your head. So becoming mindful of, okay, what is this thought telling me to do? Is this the true thing that I should be doing? Or, you know, can I challenge that? So becoming mindful. And finally, nature. Like, nature is a big one for me, because like I said, it resets you. You know, you might be stuck in that cycle, and even just taking a minute to look outside. Like, let's say you're in your office and you're sitting there and you've got all the emails and all the things, you've got this project that you need to finish. If you can just take a moment, like it takes less than a minute, just to stop, put your hands away from the computer, close your eyes, take a deep breath, look outside. You know, you don't even have to get up. You can just look outside or look at a plant and just reconnect with that sense of nature and that sense of that cycle of life, and, you know, the groundedness that nature can give you, or if you can, tapping into that sense of awe and wonder of, isn't that a miracle? Isn't it amazing that this thing is here? It's alive, it's growing, and I'm here and I'm alive and my heart is beating and I'm breathing. And, you know, even that, just give you that sense of resetting and rebalancing before you get back to it is definitely in. And if you can schedule in more time later on to be actually out, then even better.
Yeah. Wonderful advice, Ruth. That's you fill me up. My heart is very full listening to you, and
oh, good.
You're so wise for someone so young. Thank you for being with us, Ruth. And you have you've got a gift that you want to share with us here on the summit. Do you?
Yes.
About that?
I do. I have a couple. I was like, oh my God, there are so many things I want to give. So I'm putting together like a little package. So I have a bunch of free little things. So I've got a 7-day guide to well-being. It's an evidence-based little book called Refine that can lead people through this process of 7 different practices that will help you to improve your well-being. I'd like to invite everyone along to a free half-day retreat with me. Wow. So the next retreat, I'm just going to put in a coupon code for that, and you're welcome to join me on that retreat. And I know that we've got people from all over the world, so just make sure that it's recorded and you can access that for 7 days after the event. So you can set up your own little retreat. And also for the first 8 people that want to sign up, I want to give them 30 minutes with me one-on-one, and we can do a bunch of different things. So we can do either a coaching, like a mini coaching session, or I can guide you through a meditation, you know, whatever you feel like you need. That will be for the first 8 people that join up. So
wow, that's incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Do you
Pleasure.
just out of curiosity, do you do meditations then online? Like, do you help people? Do you guide folks in this kind of form through a call? Yeah.
Yeah. I do, especially now.
To do one for us, just a little mini meditation for the summit attendees. I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. So let's get started. I'll just guide you through, 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll just spend a little time just being present and mindful. So if you are sitting down in a chair, if you're feeling comfortable, just come forward a bit so that your spine is away from the chair, just to give you a bit of length, and try to find some balance in your body. So whether you're lying down or standing, if you're walking, that's okay. You can sort of alter this a little bit to make sure that you're safe and everything, but we'll just focus on people who are sitting down as well. And if you can, find balance across your body, bring your feet onto the floor if you can, try to bring your hands onto your knees, or you can cup them together. And if you're feeling comfortable, close your eyes. Or otherwise, if you're not comfortable with closing your eyes, just lower your gaze. If you're driving or if you're walking, this is the part you don't do. And we're just going to slow down. So firstly, you might notice your feet on the floor. You can notice the weight of your body in the chair or standing or lying down. If you have any discomfort or pain of any kind, your mind might have gone there. But what we're going to do is start at the top of the head and just slowly make our way down through the body. You're basically just bringing your awareness through the body. So you might move your awareness over your eyes, your face. And if you find any tightness or pulling, you can tell yourself to let it go. Moving down the back of the head, the ears, the neck. Release any tension that you're coming across down through the shoulders, the arms, the hands, moving down over through the chest, the belly, and the back. Letting your belly relax. Moving down through the buttocks and the legs. And down to the feet, the soles of the feet. And coming back to the belly, you might notice it moving as you breathe. And through the nose, the belly expanding as you breathe in and contracting slightly as you breathe out. So just noticing that breath, the cycle of the breath. The full cycle of inhale, a slight pause, and an exhale. The slightest pause as you change from inhale to exhale. Creating a full breath cycle. Being aware of noises around you, but not buying into the story that goes with the noise. Just noticing. Noticing the thoughts that come up, but not buying into the story of the thoughts. Just noticing. Letting the breath cycle be your guide. And on the next exhale, maybe just open your mouth and let it all out as a sigh. Gentle sigh. When you're ready, just bringing your eyes open. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you. I feel so relaxed and energized and present. This is beautiful.
Good. Yeah, that's a pleasure.
Want to encourage everybody, that gift that Ruth mentioned, which is very, very generous. I encourage you to take advantage of that and connect with her. The link is going to be down below, but I'll also just tell you it's sunrisewell.com.au/free gift, all one word. So that down below. But I thank you again, Ruth. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I was so excited that you invited me along. Yeah, thank you. And it's a beautiful idea, beautiful summit, and I can't wait to see it.
Thanks for being part of it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.